Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November edition of the City of Ripley Board of Mayor and Aldermen. First, I'll call this meeting to order and ask the city recorder to call the roll.
Alderman Austin. Here. Alderman Chipman.
Here.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman Hankins.
Here.
Alderman Thompson. Alderman Treadway.
Here.
Mayor Fitchie.
Here.
All present.
We're all present, so let's stand, and I'd ask Scott Nelson to lead us in an invocation, and we'll pledge allegiance to the flag after that. Scott?
Father, we come to you, Lord, and we're thankful, Lord, knowing this month ahead of us, Father, is a month of thankfulness, Lord, and a month also, Lord, that those that sacrifice, Father, the veterans, Father. We just know that those go hand in hand, and Lord, we're thankful to you, Lord, for providing all that we need, Lord, to continue to allow this country to be free, and Lord, just allow God free from our sin, Lord. We look to you and your giving of your Son, Jesus, for us, Father. And Lord, we just thank you again for all the aldermen giving their time, sacrificing their time, the superintendents, and just all the workers in our city, Father. We're just so thankful, God, that they serve this community to make a betterment, Lord, for each and every person here, Lord, that lives here. And God, we just ask you your hand upon this meeting and ask that you just speak to their hearts and guide us, Father, as we move in the direction that you would have, Lord, and not our own will, but yours, Father. And I will give you the glory and praise and all. Thank you again for what you've done for us through your Son, Jesus. And I pray Jesus for it. Amen.
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 I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With the first order, or the item number 5, is the minutes of our October 3rd, 2022 meeting, our regular meeting. Mr. Hankins moves that they be approved. Ms. Treadway seconds that. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. You adopt, they're approved. Item 6 is the first of 2 calls of meetings we had. It is the October 27th meeting. I would again entertain a motion that those minutes be approved. Mr. Chipman moves, Ms. Alston seconds. Is there discussion? I see none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. You adopt as well. Item 7 is the November 4th special call meeting, the minutes of that, and I would entertain a motion that we approve those. I think that was Mr. Hankins. And did I hear Mr. Thompson as a second? So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. You adopt those as well. Item number 8 is a review of our October 2022 financial statement as printed and delivered to each of you in your packet. I've had a quick review of that. It appears to be in order. Are there any questions?
So far, no good.
All right. Ms. Alston moves that we adopt that budget, and Mr. Hankins seconds. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? I see none. We'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. You adopt. Our next order of business is the correspondence that we may have received. We have none listed, so we'll move past that. Our comments tonight from the mayor are going to be pretty brief. We know we have Veterans Day this Friday, and there's been a lot of work done for our Veterans Parade, and it looks like that we may have the weather cooperating, so make sure, if you can, to attend, but just certainly think about our veterans.
10:30, is that right? Was it 10:30?
10:30, okay, yeah. Also, I'll just give a sort of an overview, a Blue Oval report. We plan on having a meeting of the steering committee and the subcommittee chairs to move forward into the next step of our strategic plan, which is to take the action items and put some action things to do about those to get them done. I think we've published that. Each member of the board has gotten where we are now, and frankly, we're in pretty good shape as far as the priorities of what we need to do. So we're going to take them one at a time and see how far we can get and what we can do. But things are, as a matter of fact, some of the things are moving forward. I know the Power and Light is working on a revised plans for broadband, not only downtown, but throughout the city as well. We're gonna hopefully make a big move tonight for public safety, regarding our street lights, and things like that. Our city public works continues to work on our condition of how our town looks, and it's doing real well. Matter of fact, we're even putting up now some Christmas decorations because we've gotten so many now. It takes us a while to get them up. So if you see a stray lighted pole, we're working on that. So I believe that's really all I have to speak to the public and the board about today. So we'll move to item 11, which are our department reports. Each month our departments give us a review of what they've done. And the way we usually do this is we've had a look at these. If any alderman has any questions, they can reach out to the department heads at this point in time. If not, or even if there are any, we will just ask if there's any particular thing that your department's done that you feel like needed to be pointed out to the board or to the public. You have the floor, department heads. Well, it's a pretty good report, as usual. All our departments are really proud of our city employees, and we really have a good group that's working together well, doing a lot of things. So, with that in mind, I think we're ready for a motion to
Let me
approve.
make a motion, we approve the report.
Mr. Hankins moves, Mr. Chipman seconds. Is there discussion on the reports? You've had an opportunity to, not see none, so we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. You adopt. We have a couple of off-premises, a couple of beer permits, one off and one on. We'll consider now, that's item 12. The consideration of off-premises beer application for Ripley Food and Fuel, DBA Ripley Express, 2148 Highway 51 South in Ripley. It was tabled from our October meeting. I think we tabled that because we had a report from our attorney, if I'm not mistaken.
Is this a different one?
Not the
No,
first one.
this is a different one right here.
Not the first one. The first one is.
Yeah, second one.
The first one
It's
is.
the new.
the new.
Okay.
It's the new.
Oh, this is new, so this one wasn't tabled.
Right.
Okay, I got you, sorry, my fault. So this is the first time for Ripley Food and Gas. Who speaks to those? Is it, does our lawyer speak to those?
Chief, I think.
Chief, all right, Chief. To the beer permit,
Yes, sir, that particular one was checked out to be okay.
it appears to be from what we have here that it met all requirements, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we have the folks?
This
The
one,
first reading,
This
We
is the
have
only
reading.
reading.
so, this one out on the car
I
wash.
make a motion to accept.
Mr. Chipman makes the motion to,
Is this on 51 out by the car wash?
Yes.
Is that
New
one?
plan, remodel.
Yeah, I'll second that.
this is the new one that, and I will congratulate them on their gas prices. I hope you keep them that way. That's great, good if they're here. So there's a motion from Mr. Chipman, and did I see a second? From Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis second, so we're ready to vote on that. Let's take a roll call on this. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Alderman Austin? Yes. Alderman Chipman?
Yeah.
Alderman Davis?
Yes.
Alderman Hankins?
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Thompson?
Yes.
Alderman Truitt? Mayor Fisher?
Yes. There's a unanimous vote, so we will approve that. We'll move to item 13, the on-premises beer permit for Cortez Mon Jones at the Social Lounge, 1951 South in Ripley. I believe that's the one that we didn't consider, but we moved it to this meeting.
That is, Mayor. My recollection is that at the last meeting, you all had a motion and a second that you tabled to deny the application for the permit. You all inquired of me that I research the issue of allegedly false information contained on the application. If you'll recall, there's a portion of the application which requests information about whether the applicant or any of the 5% or more owners in the business for which the permit is sought have had any criminal convictions in the last 10 years. Mr. Jones answered in the negative. He said no, that there had been none. When the application was passed on to the chief in order to determine the veracity or the accuracy of that information, it was found that Mr. Jones did have two, not one, but two criminal convictions that had resulted, one from Dyer County Circuit Court and one from federal court, on his record within the last 10 years. And as a result, he's provided false information on the application. That, in my opinion, is the basis for denial of the application. Additionally, because these statements are made under oath and to the board, as the beer board, as an official tribunal, my suggestion would be that you refer this matter to the DA's office for an investigation into a charge of possible perjury.
Would we do that in a separate motion, or do we have to do something with that motion that's hanging from last time?
Well, that motion can either be, the second can be withdrawn, the motion can be withdrawn, or it can be amended. You can amend the motion, and Donna, am I correct that the motion last month was to deny, but they were, did they move to amend, to grant, or to deny? To deny. And so you can either amend that motion, or you can just completely withdraw the motion and make a new motion.
Well, if it was tabled, we need to remove it from the table. So I would entertain a motion that we remove the, that we lift from the table the.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Mr. Chipman does, and Ms. Treadway seconds. So we'll need to take I assume the 2/3 vote to do that. So let's take a roll call vote on that.
Alderman
What
Austin.
do we vote first?
This is
Just to
To
bring
get
it
rid of
back
Put it
the
back.
motion from last
On the
month.
table.
To bring the motion back into consideration.
Okay,
from last month.
okay, yes.
Alderman Chipman,
Yeah.
Alderman Davis,
Yes.
Alderman Hankins,
Yes.
Alderman Thompson, Alderman Treadway,
Yes.
Mayor Fisher.
Yes. Now it's before us, and you heard what the lawyer said are your options to approve, to disapprove, or and then either make another motion if you feel that it should be looked at by the district attorney.
You can withdraw the existing motion. You can grant the existing motion in its current form, approve it, or you can amend it to include the referral to the DA.
Who, minutes, I've never made that motion. Last month?
I think I was one.
I need to correct something. It was to approve. Last
And-
month.
Yes, so what you have now is actually a motion to approve the application which is pending. After I said earlier to deny, I thought, I'm not sure that's
That's right.
correct.
It was
Because I
to-
think it was to approve and we got into the discussion of
That's
it.
correct.
So what you actually have on the table, what you have before you now is a motion to approve. So if you don't wish to do that, that motion and second need to be withdrawn.
Okay. Did I make that motion?
I think I did.
I-
Them did the last
It'll be
board
in the
meeting, I
minutes.
think.
Motion
approval.
by Alderman Thompson and second by Alderman Austin
Okay.
To approve.
to
Okay,
approve.
so it means that
That's
Alderman
right.
Thompson and Alderman else have to take it, okay.
If they wish to withdraw,
Withdraw.
if they wish to go ahead and have the vote on it, you just take a vote on it and
Yeah. So, is there a motion to withdraw? If not, we'll just.
You're not one of those two have to make it?
Yes,
That's correct, they
withdraw.
would.
It would be
Yeah,
somebody,
those two have
the
to make
person
it.
who made it, and then
Right.
the second would have to agree as well.
Yeah.
just
Motion to
withdraw, just
withdraw.
withdraw your motion and your
Withdraw
seconds.
motion.
Withdrawal of the motion and the second? Okay, all right. So now we're back. We're back to having those two options, I guess, now. Oh, well, three options, actually. Now, you'll have to help me here.
Yeah, let's be sure we do
I
this right.
understand Mr. Jones is in the room. We know we got a situation where he doesn't, there's some situations about testimony here, but I do want to give him the opportunity to say something if he wants to, but
Do we need to vote on this motion first?
well,
Well,
I think we need to, we give him a chance to comment, if he would like to.
Yes, sir, I would.
All right.
Can you come up there, Tom?
Yes, sir. And maybe the lawyer ought to do this rather than I, but there's been a situation where if someone makes a statement in an official proceeding and sworn that if it's false and it's known that it's false, that could become the crime of perjury.
I understand.
Okay, and so anything you say here, because this is not, I mean, I'm not gonna read you your rights, because this is a civil proceeding, but you know,
It's just, the federal charges from 2009, I went to jail in 2012. It's an old charge, it's from 2009, and the state charge in Dyersburg is from 2011. I got convicted of the charge while I was in federal prison, so the charges are all old. They are old, all over 10 years old. I've been out of prison now for 3 years. I did 7 years in prison.
let's get these dates. You spoke to the federal one first. What is the?
That was, I got that charge August 9th. I can't even remember the exact date.
Well,
April of 2009.
2009.
That's when that investigation started. The other charge, it was old. It was 2011. I got convicted of it while I was doing my federal time. I just got it all ran together in 2013. It was just charges that was like waiting on me pending. While I was going through this, I had another charge I was going through, and we ended up just running them all together. They all old though. Like I said, I did 7 years in prison. I got home 3 years.
Right, and I understand that you paid your dues, certainly. But I think it's, well, if I don't know, but it sounds to me like that if it had, they ran together in 13, that's the latest date of the conviction.
I mean, that's when they convicted me of it.
Yeah.
I was already doing the time for it though. That's why they ran it together, because I was already serving time for the charge. Nothing else came by. They just ran it together while I was already serving time.
Do you have a comment?
he made a statement a moment ago that the investigation began in a certain date, and I realize that's how he's looking at it. But the question on the application is whether there have been any convictions within the last 10 years. And both of these convictions, one is dated September 10th, 2013. That was the one in Dyer County Circuit Court. And it's on the face of the document. In fact, it's large and on the face of the document and elsewhere in another place. And the one in the U.S. District Court clearly indicates right here that the date of the imposition was 8/14/2013. So it occurred within the 10-year limitation.
I was already in custody. It's just the day I got sentenced.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and certainly understand that, but does any member of the board have a question?
So because you were already serving, that's why you announced that on that
Yes, sir.
application?
Yes, sir. If I had to do it was anything differently, I would have said that. Of course, I don't mind saying that I've been in prison. I don't mind speaking on my background. That's not a problem with me. It was just a misunderstanding. If I had to, I just had a job at Unilever with the same thing, and it was no problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
We have an opportunity now to move to approve this, or we can move to disapprove it based on the written records of the convictions. And then if we feel it necessary, we can go farther and refer it to possible prosecution.
And if it makes a difference to the board, there are felony offenses included among these.
what is the motion we're considering again? But make that clear to me, please.
Well, there's not a motion.
Not a motion on the floor, President.
Right.
So the motion last time was to approve, and we tabled it.
And
And
it
now
was withdrawn.
we've just withdrawn that, so that's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone, so we're starting all over.
So there's no motion on the floor, President.
Right.
We can have a discussion, if anybody, well, I'll just speak. I think that, it's clear that he doesn't qualify for the beer permit. And may, and I can understand that if in fact, he was already in prison, but, I think that's where we stand. I think it's very clear that he can't have the permit now.
And that's because he was convicted and it was on 2013.
Well, yes, ma'am, that's what the record showed. He indicated that he was already doing the time, but the conviction changed because they put two together, but the date of the official date was in 13, and it's not 13.
Well, and Ms. Alston, for the sake of clarification, because I realize that as attorneys, the mayor and I have spent time in court, and that's not true. That's not the experience of all of you, but I will say this, that in criminal cases like this, it is not at all unusual for a criminal defendant to spend time in jail awaiting trial. But there's no doubt when they're in court and judgment and sentence is being imposed, that that's what's happening on that date. It's not just a procedural formality that goes by sort of rubber stamping that something else has happened in the past. There's no doubt that there were appearances made before a judge on these dates and that the convictions, the judgments were imposed and sentences were imposed on these dates.
Can I speak? Like, while I was going to court and while I was already, that time, okay, I got convicted of that certain date, but the time when I was already in prison, it counted towards my time as well. That's just the day I got convicted. The other time counted as well.
I think we understand that, but I think what our attorney said is very clear. If there's no motion, then it fails for lack of a motion. So that means you did not get your beer permit. Okay, does everybody understand that? Clear with that? Thank you very much. We'll move to the next item. Item 14 is the streetlight conversion project. We've taken some actions on this, and we have with us Mr. William Franklin and others from the path, and he's going to give us a sort of a quick synopsis of where we are and what we're doing at this point in time with this project.
Sure, Mayor, thank you. Thank you to everybody for the time tonight. I'm a Memphis Tiger basketball fan, and so I'm going to try to be as brief as I can while also being respectful to the decision you guys have in front of you tonight. Thank you all again for allowing us to be a part of it. With me tonight, I've got Nathan Malika, who some of you, I think, got the opportunity to meet last time in my absence. I think it was a couple weeks ago, right? And Nathan came and presented, and also Greg Weaver's joining us tonight. Greg's relatively new to PATH. He's got family though in Covington, although he now calls Florida home for some reason, but we're glad that he's back here with us tonight. So again, before you tonight, we put together a presentation recapping the work that has been performed about the streetlight conversion project that you guys authorized us to go and look into for you in December of last year. So this presentation is again just kind of meant to foster some conversation. By all means, interrupt me as I go through this. There's a lot of decisions that have been made as part of this process. There's a lot of detail in the timing of this. So if questions come up, please interrupt me. But real quick, we'll just go through the first slide again. It's just a recap, trying to recenter everybody on the process that we're utilizing, what you guys previously asked us to do, and what we're back here tonight to tell you about. So back in December of last year, I came and presented to you guys in this exact same room about the opportunity to convert all your streetlights in the city of Ripley. And as part of that project, not only would you receive all of the inherent benefits of upgraded lighting and safety and all of that, but you would actually receive a bill reduction, right, net of all financing costs at the time. Everybody agreed that the opportunity was interesting enough for us to go and commit more time to try to really refine some of those budgets. At the time, I'd given you budgets on what I thought it might cost, and I'd given you budgets on what I thought it might save. And you guys said, please go study it, come back and tell us exactly what it's going to cost and exactly what it's going to save. So that's what we've spent the last, frankly, 11 months doing. It took us a little bit longer than what we thought, and I can speak to that as we go through it. But tonight we're back with the final, here's what it would cost and here's what it would save. Okay? Flipping through to the next page. So this will give you some insight into the audit process that we went through. And this was really the first step in this. After you guys gave us authorization, we went through and performed a field audit. That field audit consists of sending a team of personnel throughout the city streets, counting every single street light, taking pictures of every single street light, taking measurements. And I want to stress that. You know, there are other types of audits where you're just simply collecting data points. This is not one of those. This is a true design audit, meaning we're trying to collect all the metrics that would go into the proper design of an adequately designed streetlight system. So we're talking about pole heights, arm angles, the distance off the road, the presence or lack thereof of a sidewalk or a turning lane, etc. That way we know exactly what you have so that we can come back and we can design a system that efficiently uses your existing infrastructure but also appropriately throws the light out from the new system design itself. Okay, so as part of that audit design, we collected 1,933 data points. That number is actually more than the number of lights that we're going to be converting, and I'll explain some of that here on the next page. Okay, so once we collect all of that data, we come back and we work both with the city and with Ripley Power and Light, who I'll quickly take aside here. Ripley Power and Light's been a fantastic partner through all this. Many, many, many discussions about design decisions, about the reconciliation of data. And so I just want to stress that they've been a critical partner to this. So if you get a chance to extend your gratitude to them, I'd encourage you to. Anyway, it would make me happy, right? So we get the data back and we collect a ton of data about, hey, there's a light here. It wasn't on the street light bill per se. Ripley Power and Light, is that a street light? Is it a security light? So that's where that 1,933 number actually comes down. As part of this project, we're going to convert 1,885 fixtures. So there's that difference there of we thought it looked like a street light, they said it wasn't a street light, or vice versa, right? There was a lot of data reconciliation that goes back and forth as part of that. Once we determine what's actually there and what should be in scope of the project, we go through a photometric analysis, and that's represented by these three kind of boxes here in the middle part of the page. So what we're doing is you can, on a computer, you can actually put a fixture up at a specific location, and it will tell you exactly how many foot candles it will throw out. Foot candles is a measurement of light presence on the roadway. It'll tell you exactly how many foot candles that it will throw out along the road within its light distribution pattern. And so the idea there, of course, is that you're not just picking one fixture that goes everywhere, you're picking the right fixture for the right setting. So there's a different fixture at an intersection than there would be along the straightaway. There's a different fixture in a residential area than there is on a major thoroughfare, etc. Right? We're trying to match the right fixture to the right application within reason. And I want to stress that. So in an ideal world, our lighting designers would come back and they'd say, hey, we want to use 55 different fixtures in Ripley. That would be a headache for Ripley Power and Light. Okay, reasonably so. So we work inside of their parameters, and there's a lot of going back and forth about what's the right SKU count. At first, I think we started somewhere in the 3 range, like 3 different fixture types. I want to say we landed on 6 or 7. Is that accurate? Somewhere in that range. So I think it's a good middle ground, right? You're getting the right fixture for the right application in most cases. Not to say there won't be 1 or 2 where it's not ideal, but again, we're trying to keep in consideration the fact that Ripley Power and Light has to maintain inventory and maintenance on this moving forward. Okay? Any questions on that process thus far? I talk fast. I do this all day long.
Speak up if you need to.
No. All right. So once we come up with the design, we then go through our mock-up process. And many of you, I think, probably realize that there were mock-up fixtures being installed throughout the city a while back. This is where we hit a pretty lengthy delay in our process. So our design was basically complete in April, which matched our original expectation. And then we went through this massive holdup of getting mock-up fixtures in and then getting the right mock-up fixtures in, particularly for your downtown area. The fixtures you have right outside of this room are, number one, incredibly nice fixtures. They're also pretty unique. They're also somewhat old. And so when we were trying to get mock-up fixtures in to replace those, we ran into some headaches, right? We think about all the supply chain issues on top of the fact that that's a very unique fixture, and that's where this lengthy delay happened. Unfortunately, Ms. Bugner was very, very familiar with this. She would ask me every week, basically, what's the status, and I continue to have to say, we're waiting on fixtures, right? But we got there our mock-up process, But this slide right here, this is kind of where I want to spend a little bit of time, because a lot of times we skip through this. And this tries to illustrate a little bit of the design benefits that you guys could be recipients of through this project that aren't necessarily quantifiable on a spreadsheet. Yes, it has to make sense from an economic standpoint, but I think a lot of times these other benefits are lost. And so if we just go down the left-hand side, I'll talk to you a little bit about the work. The right-hand side, we'll talk about the benefits. The photometrics, we just talked about that. Color temperature, okay, this is a big one. These mock-up fixtures that were out there, as recently as the last time Nathan Malika was here, I think there was discussion about color temperature on 3,000 versus 4,000. 3,000 is a little bit yellow of a fixture, of a light, it's more of a soft white. If you look at the mock-up fixtures we put up out here to the left, they're pretty yellow or orange in appearance. Whereas if you drive down, say, Washington or Cleveland, or if you go up to Dyersburg, as Ms. Buckner pointed out, if you look at those new LED fixtures, they're a lot whiter or bluer in color, a lot more crisp. That's a 4,000 Kelvin fixture. And so you're really just determining in the 3 versus 4 the color of the light, not the amount of light, the color of the light. We've gone back and forth. It does not affect this project at all economically. It's literally like picking a red car or a black car, right? It costs the exact same amount. Insurance should be different, but anyway. So you're just telling the manufacturer what color do we want it to be. And so that decision was kind of up in the air really until here recently. And I think what we've determined is a 4,000 Kelvin fixture is the right fixture for the city of Ripley. That's not the case everywhere, and if you guys remember all the way back, there's some consideration that sometimes is given on behalf of other cities to kind of environmental impact. Some studies have shown that migrations of birds, sleep patterns of humans, et cetera, can be negatively affected if a light color temperature is above 3,000. I'm not going to argue the science for or against, right? But that's something that other cities have taken into consideration. At the same time, though, we still see other cities pick a 4,000 Kelvin fixture despite that science. Right, it does appear almost always to the human eye a little bit better than, say, an older 3,000 Kelvin fixture. Any questions on color temperature? Okay. Good. That was easy then. Okay. We'll skip over dark sky. That's that environmental concerns. Wattage decisions. So, golly, we can go on for hours on this. Wattage decisions and SKU counts, they're very much related. Again, we have to give consideration to the long-term owner, operator, maintainer of the fixtures. It would not be fair for us to assign 50 different SKUs across the city and then ask Ripley Power and Light to go and maintain that. So we're working within their parameters, we're working within those considerations to try to really simplify this, okay? On the right-hand side, let's talk about some of the other benefits real quick, and then we'll get into the economics, because I know that's what you want to talk about. But you have obviously general aesthetic improvements. Anywhere that anybody's been that has new LED streetlights, it is undeniable that the light's cleaner, crisper, more consistent, etc. I think all of you have probably been witness to that. If you go down to Covington, we did that project. If you go up to Dyersburg, they did a project there a couple years ago. It is undoubtedly different and better, the LED light and the light that it provides, okay? You also have the public safety benefits. There's all kinds of studies about crime and the ability or lack thereof of light to prevent crime. Unfortunately, the studies don't necessarily say that, hey, the more light you have, the less crime you have, but I think we would all, common sense would tell you, the better lit an area is, the less likely, it seems, that crime would be to take place in that area, right? So you have those public safety benefits. You talk to any member of law enforcement, they'll tell you, we need more light in these areas, we don't like dark spots are where bad things happen, right? So we're trying to eliminate those as part of this project. Fewer outages and faster response times. So those two obviously go together. The fewer outages you have, the fewer outages there are for Ripley Power and Light to chase them and try to fix them. And so therefore you get faster response times when a fixture itself actually does go out. So you get those inherent benefits for the citizens when they call in, they say, hey, we have a light out. In theory, you now should have that light replaced even faster than it was before, okay? Environmental impact, I didn't put the numbers to this, but I can prepare a little report for you. If you take kind of what everybody's paying attention to now, like if you take like a really big city like a Nashville, right? Like they're all about the carbon footprint and reducing the carbon footprint. And there are measurable differences here in what you're going to be doing through this project, assuming that you guys decide to move forward, in reducing your carbon footprint. And if you look at the younger generation, they tend to kind of pay a lot of attention to these green effects of these projects, and this project undoubtedly delivers in a pretty significant margin a significant carbon reduction. If that's of interest to you, I will send that to you. In fact, just talking through it, I'll send it to you, Donna, just so you have it. Okay? That way you guys can put it on Facebook or whatever if you want. Okay. Moving on. We took a look at a lot of different things through this. It started off as just the citywide streetlight conversion project. It turned very quickly into, well, let's look at adding lights over here and adding lights over there. You know, I always like to split these things up. You have your existing streetlight bill, so money that's currently being spent on streetlights. You have savings that come from converting those lights that you're already paying for. And then unfortunately, you have capital costs that come with adding lights everywhere. So you have this, on one side, you're just reducing your ongoing expenses. On the other side, you're increasing your ongoing expenses by adding lights. And so you're doing a balance, like a seesaw, right? And so as part of this, we started looking at a number of different areas. And recently, we started putting numbers to them, and we all sat down, and frankly, all of our eyes were kind of opened at the same time going, wait a second, this project's gotten out of scope. This was supposed to be a savings project, not a capital project that's just going to cost us more money. And so for the purposes of this discussion, we paired that out and since removed everything, right, that doesn't currently exist. So we're not talking about adding new lights really anywhere as part of this project. Okay, this project is more about the one-for-one replacement of the existing lights that exist here today, okay, as well as converting the Ripley parking lot lights. That was something we decided to include. They're there. We thought it made sense to go ahead and convert those given kind of the way that they're set up. Okay? But you can see the rest of those items on the left on that include column. You can see the rest of those items are not included as part of this project. Expectation is at some future date we'll come back to you and talk more about those, but those are more of your traditional capital projects. We're going to spend money to add lights somewhere, not a savings project like this. Go ahead, Mayor.
If I could interrupt just a second, I think the major one that we were concerned with was Keller Lane, Keller Avenue, because we hope at some point in time it'll be, it's already being used more, and you know, it's, but we think that as Mr. Franklin just explained to us, what we're trying to do is one for one here. And then we can move forward if we like what we see and come back, and this company will be glad to, and they've already been working on Keller Lane somewhat anyway. So I think that's from a financial standpoint.
Now, am I right there? There'd be like the ball field and the tennis court. It would be an add-on.
Those would be an add-on at a future date.
Okay.
That's correct.
Well, right now, our ball fields are not lit up that much, especially during, you know, the winter.
Yes, sir.
And they're not used every night during the spring and summer. And so I think that would be, to me, Mayor, that would be not necessary. Parking lot, different story.
Sure.
All I'm looking at, the overall cost.
Yes, sir.
What this is gonna cost us overall, and how much and how long it's gonna take to pay for it.
Sure.
The savings.
Absolutely. So given that commentary, let's flip to the next slide. All right, well, we'll look at the costs and the savings. Okay?
Before you get there, can I ask
Yes.
a question?
Please.
You said 1933, and did I understand you to say that when you got together with Ripley Power and Light, you determined that it wasn't actually 1933? Some of those were security lights, and it was 1885 or so?
1885 is the number of fixtures that we're actually converting as part of this project.
Okay.
So not all of those are street lights. I think 16.
156 are your downtown decoratives, which are metered separately.
Okay.
And then you have the ones at Ripley Park, which is the parking lot, and the walking trail are also
So they're actually
included.
all being converted?
Those are all-
It wasn't reduced to 1886,
No.
all 1933?
But when we send our auditors out, they take when in doubt, they take a photo of it and count it on the audit map that y'all see, that 1933. And then we go through with the utility and say, hey, they took a photo of this, but we don't think this is a street light, and we all came to agreement and said, yep, that's not a street light.
That's where the difference is. Good question. Okay. Let's get into the numbers. So, to Alderman Chipman's point, the project is, at this point, all about what it's going to cost and what it's going to save. So this project, all in, turnkey budget, there are no hidden costs, there are no change orders. We will not come back to you for anything. Costs $1,367,337. Okay? That project cost includes a one-time buyout to Ripley Power and Light for the undepreciated plant value of the existing fixtures. I can explain that in detail if we need to. It's about a $35,000 payment. Does anybody have questions on that conceptually?
To the utility
Correct.
that you make, well, that's the city makes.
You will make it. Yes, sir.
That's included.
That's included.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
And I'll leave you alone.
No, sir. Go ahead.
Did you say the walking track in the parking lot at the park is included?
I don't think we're doing walking track, are we? We are developing track. We are developing track. I apologize. We are.
It's in there, I've seen it.
Yep.
The only thing that's not being done down
The ball
there.
field.
The ball,
tennis.
ball field, the swimming,
Tennis court.
And,
The tennis courts and the swimming pool.
correct,
Yeah,
That was an ad to bring those lights up.
right.
okay.
So again, there's that one-time payment that gets included there, and that's included, of course, in these numbers here in front of you. So that's not a payment that's gonna go to Pat, that's just gonna go directly to Ripley Power and Light. They're basically gonna retire that plant value so that now you guys are starting at zero, okay? Not included in this is actually a one-time payment you're going to receive that's been relatively new information, and we were talking about this before. It's about a $30,000, so call it even. It's basically gonna pay for your buyout, but it's from TVA. It's a newly issued incentive that TVA just came out with a couple weeks ago. I'll give credit to Nathan Malika for doing the dirty work and digging through that, but you guys are gonna receive one time about a $30,000 check from TVA as part of this. So that's not included in here, but that's just a bonus, right? But if we look at the bill, so this is something that's always great, right? Your pre-project bill is $188,000 a year for the existing lights as they stand right now. Okay, your post-project bill, and we know this to be factually true, your post-project bill will go to 77, call it 78,000, just to use round numbers. Okay, so you have a gross budget savings every year of $110,000 on your street light bill itself.
So therefore, in theory, $110,000 per annum goes against this 1.3 million. And then after that, it's just cake,
Bingo,
theoretically.
bingo, theoretically. Right? That would be a fair way to look at it.
You got it.
Okay? I've broken those bills down, pre and post project, and those pies. Anybody have questions on those or a desire to go into them in any detail? They're supposed to represent all in. So I've even included a maintenance allowance, which right now you guys don't do. But I've included a maintenance allowance just for random things that might come up for Ripley Power and Light to tackle. I've also included that in that budget itself. Okay?
Do you know, William, if, let's say, new security lights are, they could come on from time, is RPA, Ripley Power and Light, going to use LEDs on those as well?
We've been talking about it. So they know that it's coming. So what's going to happen is, let's say you guys say to go forward with this project, every resident that has a security light is going to ask for a new security light. And so they will move forward with installing new LED lights. Now, there will be an increased cost. I'm not going to speak to what that will be. That's their decision. But yeah, they're looking at that.
Good.
And they'll match these, so you'll have the same color everywhere. Okay. Now, of course, it's not as simple as you just pay for it all in cash up front, right? So you guys have determined that probably of most interest to you is to go forward with some sort of debt financing, right? I think that's what you guys were looking at here recently. The first cash flow that I have, though, just shows you that cash impact of it. So Alderman Hankins, this kind of goes to the point that you were asking about, right? Where you just have the gross savings against the initial cost, okay? The second cash flow, though, take into consideration the real world rates and terms that you guys have access to at this point. If you wanted to borrow 100% of that cost, or really a 1.3 million, I think is the number we're talking about. This is what it would look like. And I think I actually just included 1.36 and not 1.3, so it's a little bit off. But you can see it is net negative for the first couple of years because of that debt service payment. Now, one thing we were up against, I think everybody's aware of this. Number one, cost of equipment, cost of everything in the world has been skyrocketing since we started investigating this project. Number two, interest rates have been skyrocketing. Those in particular have really hurt the economics of this project when you're talking about financing it. And so that's why we decided, scrap all of the other add-on things. We've got to get this project going so you guys can start saving money.
Right, we were talking about before, when the interest starts getting even worse.
Correct. Okay, questions about those cash flow slides? There's a lot of numbers, it's small. Maybe Mayor Fitz, you as a banker can help us work through it.
So we're pretty much locked in on that. So, too bad the rates are going up, but we've been able to stop that at this point in time. Any questions? I think Mr. Hankins and Mr. Chipman illustrated the bottom line. We will save that money, but we use those savings to pay for what the Williams Company is going to sell us, and that's the lights. There was some question as to why the city does this rather than the Power and Light, but I resolved it in my mind that, you know, the power line is gonna take care of the financing, I think, of the broadband, so we share the wealth a little bit as far as that goes. So we're at a stage now where we have gone ahead because of the interest rates and have the money in position to borrow. You've already approved all that, and we've already paid for. We paid for we don't pay now
We don't pay
for the initial cost because we're
Right.
moving on with the project.
That 23,000.
23,000,
That
right?
was the survey.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So is our next move basically to make a motion to approve path for bidding?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Hankins moves, Mr. Chipman seconds. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, so since we're spending a bit of money here, we will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Yes, we will.
Alderman Austin.
Yes.
You always like to start with.
Alderman Chipman.
Yes.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman Hankins.
Yes.
Alderman Thompson.
Yes.
Alderman Turpway.
Yes.
Mayor Fitchie.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to
Seriously.
working with you.
Yeah, great job, we appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
I want to put you on record, though.
Yes, sir.
The project timeline, did you mention that?
Project time, look, that's a
That was
Nathan
the
Malika.
last page.
Yeah, that's right, y'all skipped over
That was the
that. I do,
last page.
only because I feel like it's in here, I'll at least address it, right, the timeline. So obviously, we will move to order equipment tomorrow, right? We'll get a signed contract.
That's what it said.
Right, and so we're gonna order equipment. 10 to 12 weeks is what we're estimating right now. Frankly, I hope it's going to improve upon that. We're starting to see that shorten a little bit. But if you take that timeline, we're looking at really starting this project early next year, being complete spring, summer of next year. Okay, we'll keep you guys posted as we learn more on this timeline. That's my expectation though right now, conservative.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, we're honored to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work, and we look forward to working with you.
Absolutely, likewise.
So with that, we had item 14, and we just completed item 15. Right now, we're on item 16. Alderman Chipman, that's your item here from a constituent of yours, I believe. You're ready now.
Ms. Lemon,
No, that's it. That's not all.
Ms. Lemon, you ready to come up?
Yep. Not that me. Don't want, I'm not
You can
gonna,
sit down if
I'm
you'd
not
like
gonna
to.
double
You
down
talk
on
to
it.
them. Ms. Lemon, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, I'm gonna make it fast. I'm here another, I don't know, probably the 5th or 6th time to talk about my subdivision. I've lived in Foxbury for 21 years. Out of the 21 years, my city and county taxes are close to $60,000. Now I'm considering selling my house. The 21 years that I've lived there, the subdivision has deteriorated instead of becoming something that you would be proud to live in. It's not like that. And as I've been here many times complaining about it, and if you drive in there, you can tell. Right now, if I put my home up for sale tomorrow, say I could get $100 for it. If it was in Willow Creek, I'm sure I could get $120 for it or $150 for it. But because of where I'm living, I can't get the value of my house that I would like to get if it was located somewhere else. I've asked many times to have the subdivision manicured. People that own the subdivision that don't have houses on there, they should keep it clean. I've got weeds as tall as me. Now, I did talk to someone last week. They came and made sure I have a ditch running behind my house. Whoever owns